Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome back to another episode of the Chelsea Fan TV podcast. Before we get into today's episode, make sure you smash the likes on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And it was a great night in Salzburg for Chelsea, running out 2-1 winners in a thrilling game against RB Salzburg to finish top of Group E and progress to the last 16 of the Champions League. Wouldn't have expected us to have been group winners given how the first two games started with just a single point from them, but 3 wins in a row now, 2 against Milan, 1 against Salzburg, ending their 40-odd game unbeaten run at home. And we've turned things around drastically. 2 superb goals tonight from Mateo Kovacic and Kai Havertz, getting us the 3 points. Lewis, what were your thoughts on it, mate? I thought this was probably some of the best, well, definitely the best football we've played under Potter, bar the first 5 minutes in the second half where we conceded. But the best football we've played in a long time as well. I thought we were great tonight.
Yeah, we felt confident for the first time in a couple games now. I feel like that was one of our better performances this season in general. Some really good patterns of play in attack. Very unlucky and also frustrating not to get a few more goals. Aubameyang could have killed it in the first half by himself. Some of the saves were good goalkeeping. Some of the others were just like really poor finishes. Like there was one in acres of space. He had all the time in the world. He should have done a lot better with that one. But it was a good performance. I thought we did look a bit shaky in transition still, especially in the first half. And we got caught out for the goal as well. But after that, I thought we were a lot more solid. We handled Salzburg a lot better. 2 wonder goals again from Kovacic and Havertz. Brilliant to see as well. Needed that second half from Havertz as well from a confidence perspective. And yeah, like just glad that now with AC Milan's win over Zagreb, we can rotate. It's a massive thing for us now with the next few games coming up too. So happy with the performance. Like really happy with the way that we played too. Chalobah, Gallagher really stood out for me in that game. Jorginho won man of the match. The midfield in general was really good because Kovacic also deserves some praise too. Him and Gallagher absolutely bossed that midfield, especially in the first half. But yeah, I'm happy with the performance. Really am.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, obviously, we started with the 2 in the middle against United. He changed it after half hour because we were getting overrun. Put the third man in there, and it looked much better. We stuck with that tonight, and I thought, yes, at times we were a little bit slow on the transitions and whatnot, but we like with an extra man in there, it did look a lot more solid. And do you like the? I know we've played 3-4-3, but 3-5-2 extra man in midfield. I think that's working better for us at the moment until we get to perhaps January where we can maybe look at bringing another midfield player in to solve the problem. I think going with the 3 in the middle actually works quite well. And I thought someone who's come in for a lot of stick recently, I thought Jorginho, I know he was man of the match, but I thought he had a pretty good game as well at the base of that midfield. And I think the 3 in there, we just look a little bit more solid. I quite like it.
Yeah, can you go back through the last part? My internet just lagged out for a
Nice.
sec.
But I was literally just saying that, obviously we started with a 2 against United. It wasn't great. And then we switched it to a 3. And then we stuck with a 3 for this game as well. And I felt, yes, that despite being caught on the transition maybe once or twice, that it looks generally a lot more solid in there. And until we get to January where we can perhaps address the situation, bring a midfield player in, I actually quite like us going with that 3 in the middle. I think it suits us quite well at the moment. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's just a subtle difference from the 3-4-3 to a 3-5-2.
I think with the 3 in midfield, we've in general felt more confident with that. It's all about the individual performances for me because we can go back to the Palace game, for example. We played Kovacic, Mount, Jorginho, and all 3 of them were terrible in that game. And that was a big reason as to why we struggled. Not because of the system or the way that we set up. It was individual performances. And in this game, everybody did their job excellently. Kovacic and Gallagher absolutely bossed that midfield. Jorginho and the midfield in itself did struggle with transitions at times, but we were never really made to pay for it. And part of that is due to poor finishing from Salzburg, but part of it was because we were able to pick ourselves up after being caught out initially. We look like we're starting to improve in that aspect a little bit more. Now, I do think we're going to get a different test in the Premier League. That's why I don't really want to jump to conclusions. Like, yeah, we drew against Salzburg in the last game, but that was because of our own undoing. We should have killed them off before they equalised. This time, we were just a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more lucky in front of goal. How does that fare in the Premier League? We'll see. We'll see, but I'm happy with the performance. I think it was one of our better performances this season, and yeah, the midfield looked a lot more solid. We need to stick to that three in midfield.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it was a bit of a slow start to the game. First 20 minutes, not too much happened. We didn't really have a shot on target. We took a little bit of time to get into it. I felt like a lack of conventional wing backs was hurting us a little bit. Kovacic and Gallagher having to cover defensively a lot for Sterling and Pulisic, as you would expect. But we get the opening goal, and Kovacic only seems to score worldies for us. He doesn't do tap-ins or simple finishes. And mate, this was a great finish from him. Kai Havertz is not an assist for Havertz, but he's on the ball on the ball in the box. Defender kind of nicks it off him, and it arrives at Kovacic. And him arriving at the edge of the box, like our most famous number 8 Frank Lampard used to do. Mate, it's a great finish into the top corner. I mean, Kovacic was superb tonight. But I mean, where does that rank for you among sort of the goals that he scored? Obviously, probably the one against Liverpool was his best one. But again, this is up there. This is up there.
Ridiculous. His whole goal comp is an absolute joke. I don't know if it goes over the Liverpool one for me.
I don't think
but
so.
It's definitely up there. And from a team perspective, like I want to see more of that. Just like when you're in space, like let's not overthink things. Just have a pop. Havertz as well. The second one, you're in space, have a hit. We don't do it enough. We take way too many touches. This is exactly what we're capable of if we're just quicker with the way that we move the ball.
Yeah, no, for sure, mate, for sure. And he gets, once that first goal goes in, it's a completely different game. We grow in confidence and we start creating a lot of opportunities. And I'd say the only disappointing thing tonight was, and luckily it didn't cost us. It almost did because we conceded 5 minutes into the second half. But I know Havertz got the goal, but how disappointed are you that, again, when we're in the ascendancy, we're not killing games off? That game should have been 3-0 at half time and it should have been put to bed and nothing to worry about in the second half. I mean, are you concerned that we're still missing a lot of chances in games? I mean, against a better team, we probably would have been punished, but luckily tonight it didn't cost us. But yeah, we've got to start putting those chances away. Aubameyang has been in good finishing form for us. He has to score that. Havertz should have scored his header as well. So that for me was probably one bad point, was we keep missing big chances.
Yeah, and this is the thing with Aubameyang, like we brought him in for these sorts of moments, and I'm not gonna be all over him because he had one game with poor finishing, but you can't really be having these sorts of games, not consistently. And like the Man United game, I weren't really on him too much because I didn't think he got fed enough. I thought it was scraps to deal with. He had more than enough in this game. He should have at least had one. And it's just the first game that I'm thinking that, but just no more of those, please. Like I won't say anything more than that because it is still very early days with him. Havertz should have scored that header. First off, like there was phases where he was good. Like there was one really nice turn there, and he set up a really good assist for Aubameyang, and he should have scored that. But there was other ones like that header. There was another one where he just completely blocked Aubameyang's path from a shot. One where I think he cleared a shot from the line, like Timo Werner against Leeds. Overall in the attack, like it was just very disappointing until the second half. The second half, I thought Havertz came to life a little bit more, looked a lot more confident, wasn't losing possession as much, and topped off with a really good finish as well. And again, please, let's just keep, when we have the opportunity for shots like that, let's not take too many extra touches like I've seen so many times from the likes of Kovacic and from the likes of Havertz as well. If we can be a lot more quicker, we'll be a lot more decisive.
That's one thing that I've never understood with Chelsea, is that like we never want to take shots from outside the box. Like they're not all going to go in, but we should be shooting more. We've got players that have got good shooting ability. Havertz has shown it in a Chelsea shirt. He's shown it for Germany, particularly that goal against England at Wembley. Like he can do it. So I do agree. We do need to just kind of take more shots from outside the box and kind of see what happens rather than constantly trying to pass our way into the net. But just briefly on Havertz, obviously, like something to work on tonight, a great goal, and hopefully kind of that can move him forwards. I felt outside of the goal, yes, okay, could have had an assist with Aubameyang finished, and he could have had a second if his finishing was better. But outside of that, I felt the all-round performance wasn't all that. And I know Twitter's not the best place to go, but I'm seeing Twitter people acting like the past sort of 18 months that he's been here or whatnot has not happened because he scored that goal. Like I'm not quite understanding. Look, don't get me wrong. Where praise is due, I'm giving it. And tonight he was good, and it's a good goal. But I'm seeing certain people acting like all his
It's
crap that
player
he served
stand
up
culture.
before has not happened.
It's player stand culture. Literally just that. Like the same people who have made excuses for him for ages are now sitting here shoving all their propaganda down your throats because they were correct and everything like that. No, everything that was said in the past still stands. Like the last 18 months hasn't gone. In fact, the last 2 years hasn't gone, if we're being completely
Yeah.
honest. Even the performance, like it wasn't man of the match worthy. Like he was good in the second half. The first half I thought he was okay. Like there was good moments, there was terrible moments. Have a consistent 90 minutes, have a consistent run of games, and then there would be no criticism against the player's name. The fact is, he's our second most expensive signing, and he's been terrible for the best part of 2 years. In spite, other than patches of form and good games here and there, and I don't know whether it's good this early to say that he's back or anything.
No,
He's
I
not.
can't be saying
We'll
that.
see how he performs in the next few games, and I really hope he performs well. Like the team would benefit massively from it, but
Yeah.
I have to see it. I wouldn't hold my breath knowing the form that I've seen from him.
No,
I
I
need to
know.
see it to believe it.
We've been here so many times before. We think he's going to kick on, and he just doesn't. So I mean, yeah, we got a reserve judgment, but yeah, a great goal tonight, and hopefully he can push on from that. But I also want to touch on Christian Pulisic. You know, myself and you and other Chelsea fans thinking, you know, he should have played more minutes than he has done. He should have been starting more games. Gets a start tonight. Obviously, a slightly unconventional position. You know, he hated playing wing back under Thomas Tuchel, but he seems more happy under Graham Potter. Starts at wing back tonight on the right hand side. He probably normally prefers the left hand side. I actually thought he had a good game tonight. He gets the assist for Kai Havertz. I thought his dribbling was good. He's really good with the ball in tight spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a promising performance from him. And I think with Pulisic, you know, he's one of those players that needs a run of games. We don't want the situation like against Wolves when he was really good, to then he starts this game and then we don't see him make an appearance for like another 2 or 3 games. I think now is the time for him to have a consistent run of maybe 2, 3, 4 starts to really see what he can do. And what did you make of him tonight? Because I enjoyed his performance. I thought he was good.
Yeah, he has to start the next game. Even like him and Sterling had to play wing backs, but I thought Pulisic was the much more decisive player out of the two. Much more direct with his dribbles. I think he created a lot more problems. Sterling wasn't bad, just Sterling never stood out to me or anything. Like I felt like he was a lot deeper. Didn't really have as much of an impact as Pulisic did. So I would really prefer to see him start the next few games because again we've been overdue seeing him start a game, and he finally does. He's literally popped up with an assist and was one of our better players on the day. Has to start against Brighton.
Yeah, I think in his 3 games that he has started, I think he's got the assist for Gallagher's assist for Gallagher at Palace. He's got the goal and the assist against Wolves, and he got and he's got an assist tonight. So you know he is showing that when he starts games he can influence them. But yeah, I agree. He has to start on Saturday and be given more of an opportunity to show what he can do. Just before we move on to look ahead to the Brighton game, I just wanted to. You touched on him earlier, Conor Gallagher. I thought he was superb tonight in the midfield. Covered so much ground. He was everywhere. Great energy, intensity. And I'm really pleased because under Tuchel, you know, you were at Leeds as well, I think, when we lost 3-0 and he was in the pivot and people were just battering him, like saying, you know, he's not good enough for Chelsea, this and that and whatnot. And, you know, he's not a pivot player. He never has been and he probably never will be. Now that he's moved higher up the pitch, he's putting in the level of performance that we saw at Palace and the level of performance that we know he's capable of. And I thought he was really good tonight. I'm just really pleased to see it. I mean, what did you make of him? And, you know, I just don't understand why people criticize like players like Gallagher after one game, but will then have blind faith in players like Havertz who have failed to deliver for so long. Like it's mad. But I mean, what were your thoughts on Gallagher tonight? Because I was delighted for him. I'm really pleased to see him doing well.
Yeah, I think with Gallagher's issue initially, it was Tuchel completely misprofiling him. Anyone from Palace or anyone who watches Gallagher regularly will tell you that he's not suited to playing that deep, and it just didn't last. Didn't last at all. Under Potter, he does look revitalized. I thought, like you said, brought a lot of energy, was in the right position for a lot of times for us, and him and Kovacic together were excellent. And potentially, I think that should be the midfield 3 that we stick with. Like maybe or rotate between him and Ruben, but like Gallagher, every single time he's played, has impressed. And if he keeps playing like this, there'll be a question as to whether you can drop him from the squad.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. And again, another at the back, Thiago Silva again very good. Perhaps at fault for the second goal for the equaliser. Sorry, he misses that interception high up at the pitch. If you're going to overcommit like that, you've got to win the ball. But other than that, I thought it was superb. But again, I don't think we big up Trevor Chalobah enough. He was superb tonight, and another start and another game that Chelsea's not lost. I don't know how many games it is now where he started and Chelsea haven't lost, but it must be over 30 now. This
Yeah, I
guy
think it's
is
31.
this guy is seriously good. Massive fan of his, and to think that he probably wouldn't have played that much if Fafana hadn't got injured it is mad. I mean, how good do you think he could become? Because he's learning from the best. He's playing regularly. He started the last 6 games, and to think that he was potentially close to leaving in the summer, I mean, we'd be in big trouble now if we'd allowed him to go. So yeah, great for Trevor that to see him doing so well, and I think he has to be part of the World Cup squad as well.
Has to be. I don't mind if he doesn't go because
Yeah,
again, it benefits us through the season. But Southgate has to be looking at him. He has to be. And if he continues his form potentially into the World Cup and out of it, you're going to have a conversation with him being one of the best centre backs in the league. Like in terms of consistency, you could already debate that he's up there, but he hasn't really had the long term experience to be in those sorts of debates right now. If he can keep it up till the end of the season, then I think he should be there. But I don't see any reason why he can't either. All of the worrying aspects of his game have seemed to have disappeared. He looks a lot more composed. He looks a lot more positionally aware. And he's looked better than Silva in the last 2 games, which says a lot. He's been
yeah.
really good. So,
I
yeah,
mean,
more
more.
praise to him.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. I mean, obviously, we top the group now, we win it. And that Zagreb game becomes a dead rubber. It doesn't matter at all. And that's really, really important because that game comes, 3 days before a massive game against Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. So to be able to rest basically all the first team players if we want to. I'm sure there'll probably be a few that do play, but that's again another big bonus. But moving away from the Champions League to Premier League action, and Graham Potter returns to Brighton on Saturday. Another tricky away game for Chelsea. It's not going to be easy, this one. I know Brighton perhaps aren't in the best form since De Zerbi came in. They have lost a few games, and they failed to beat the likes of Nottingham Forest and whatnot. But they still got some half decent players, and they got enough to cause us problems. Be interesting to see what sort of reception Potter gets. I'm sure Brighton are sick of us now, seeing as we're robbing, a load of guys from them. But we've been in half decent away form. Obviously, last 3 wins at Palace and Villa, but the draw at Brentford. So not in terrible form on the road. How do you see this one going? Because Brighton's a tough place to go.
Could go either way. Brighton don't even look that bad since Potter's left. I think they'll come out and they'll give us a game which could work towards our benefit, but again, I think it'll be a different sort of challenge towards the likes of Salzburg. I don't know. Like we're definitely confident or capable of winning. Will we play well and consistently through the 90? That remains to be seen, but I still think we're capable of getting a result anyway.
Yeah, I think obviously having the early kickoff in the Champions Leagues helped us out a little bit, and the travel's not too bad from Austria. So that's probably a little bit of a bonus as well there. But again, it's kind of important we win this game because whilst we haven't lost in any of the last 2, we have dropped 4 points. So it's no win in our last couple of games, which all right, it's not alarming, but 2 games. If 2 games becomes 3, then you start kind of worrying a little bit with a massive game against Arsenal, a tricky trip to Newcastle as well before we round out the season. So it's not easy. You don't want to sort of not win this game and then have to try and beat Arsenal and Newcastle to get a couple of wins before the World Cup begins. So this is important. I mean, do you see a lot of rotation potentially taking place as well from tonight? I mean, there's plenty of recovery. I'm sure Mason Mount will obviously probably come back into the lineup, but I mean, other than that, you probably I don't expect that many changes. Maybe Ben Chilwell comes in, but I mean, Koulibaly might be back from injury, but I don't think it's really necessary to make wholesale changes from tonight.
Not too many. Like I'd keep the front 3 the way it was, to
Yeah,
be honest. And I don't know. Like I would like to see Pulisic play a bit further forward rather than play at wing back
yeah.
because it would just be better off for him that way. But he had a good game. Maybe go for 4-3-3. I don't know. Actually, I don't know because we don't have to rotate too much
No.
because everyone's switching for Zagreb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be the same lineup. Could be a very similar lineup. Maybe see one or two changes, but yeah, that would be about it, max.
Yeah, no, it would be. I mean, obviously, we saw first time Mason Mount hasn't started a game under Graham Potter tonight. Obviously, some much needed rest. Goes to show that we know he's kind of important for us, but we can play without him. I mean, is he still for you? Should he be starting every game, or do you think actually he should perhaps be rotated more?
Not too sure. Who are we going at again?
Mount should he? Because he
Mount.
rested tonight. Do you think? I mean,
Yeah,
he's
he'll be back
important.
in.
He'll be back in, but do you think he should be rotated more?
Yeah, more. Like, I think that I'm trying to debate whether we would be better off keeping him in the squad or leaving him on the bench. I don't know, but I think Potter in general would probably just put him back in for this game anyway. But we played well without him. We're
Yeah, we
creating a
did.
lot of chances, and I feel like we're going to have a similar game too. So, does Mount get back into the lineup? I don't know. I really don't know.
It's tricky, isn't it? It's hard to change a winning team. Obviously, like we know, Potter likes Mount, and Mount's an important member of the squad. But again, you've got to play your way into the side. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to start, but I think we've shown that we perhaps can perform without him, and that we have got other options there to do so. I mean, from a Brighton perspective, though, who kind of worries you? Danny Welbeck seems to always score against us. Trossard, obviously, dangerous player. Caicedo, decent in the midfield. I mean, they've got threats. Do you see them causing us issues? Because
we've had a tricky time against Brentford recently. Not Brentford, Brighton.
Yeah.
Drew the last two. I think we drew at the Bridge the season before that.
Yeah, we drew last season at the Bridge.
Yeah,
last year,
we haven't lost to them.
Yeah, we beat them at the Amex last year, but it was a terrible game. Ziyech basically got that goal and he just didn't even celebrate.
That game was like... I don't think anybody played well except Silva in that match. But how many times we've said that per year? Yeah, Brighton will be difficult. I expect them to be tougher than the Salzburg game. That's why I'm not really trying to jump to any conclusions with it. But it's an open game. I feel like that favours us too, and we're 100% capable of winning as well. I just don't think we should underestimate Brighton. And I don't think a lot of people would either.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, as I said, we drawn the last two games. With that in mind, do you think, I know like you want to win every game and essentially every game is kind of must win, but do you think given the fact we've dropped 4 points in the last couple of games, it's actually essential we win this game?
Oh, yeah. Every game, in spite of the last performances, must win for us until the World Cup because we lost so much ground before Tuchel got sacked. That's why those two draws also really weren't favourable to us, especially the fourth v fifth game against United. We got to beat Brighton because after that it's Arsenal and Newcastle. It doesn't get any easier. But yeah, it's up to Chelsea. It's up to Chelsea. I keep saying you lot have to instill the faith in me because I don't really have a lot of that confidence.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, just lastly, mate, what sort of reception do you think Graham Potter will get at Brighton? Because obviously, he's going back not long after he left. Chelsea kind of taken, as I said, obviously taken all his staff. We're looking to poach a kind of a recruitment guy as well, which should happen fairly soon. What sort of reception do you think he'll get? Because he did a fantastic job there. I don't think any Brighton fans can blame him for leaving for Chelsea. So should be good reception all round for him.
Yeah, I think he's probably their best manager in history.
He must
unless they come up with someone I don't know anything about. But yeah, it's got to be Graham Potter. So I don't see any reason why they give him a bad reception. I'm sure they know that they knew he was going to leave either at the end of the season or at some point. Maybe they didn't expect it that early. Yeah, if anything, from what I've seen from Brighton fans, they were more annoyed at their backroom staff leaving as opposed to Potter. They kind of understood. So I think they'll give him a good reception.
Yeah, no, I hope so as well. And obviously, I've been impressed with the start he's done. He's still unbeaten, and as I said, he becomes the first manager since Di Matteo to be unbeaten in his first 4 Champions League games. So, I mean, I'm not saying we're going to win, we're going to lift the trophy, but let's kind of wait and see what happens this season with that. But kind of run up to the World Cup, mate. I know we'll probably cover it in future episodes, but we've got 2 tough games. I mean, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but just how important is that Arsenal game as well? Because we talk about Brighton, and you don't want to look too far ahead. Like the next game's your most important game, but with this Arsenal game coming up, what next week? Is it next weekend?
Next Sunday, I think.
Next Sunday. I mean, that's probably that's got to be our most important game. We've got to go into that in winning form.
It goes without saying. Literally goes without saying. Even a draw, I'm not going to accept. I don't care if they're top of the league, or even though they're top of the league by a point or something.
Couple points, yeah.
Yeah, we could be the ones that knock them off their perch. So I'm going to be on everybody that game. They all need to turn up. I'm not accepting any disaster classes from anybody. It could be Kai Havertz. It could be Thiago Silva. I'm not accepting it.
No,
you have to turn up.
It.
I'm sick to death of dropping points to Arsenal at home. They used to go like a decade without winning at our ground, and now they come here and start dancing all over our stadium and taking the mick. No, I don't want it anymore. I need a 2-0 upper dagger or even more. I don't care. Just beat.
Mate, I'd love to see the front flips in front of the Arsenal fan. Just that flip celebration again.
Flip off Arteta as
well. or just run and celebrate right in front of him, like sort of recreate that Adebayor celebration and just do a knee slide right in front of Arteta.
Anything, I will take it. Just celebrate, please.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, seems like a good point to round out. Chelsea, as we say, finishing top of Group E in the Champions League. Wouldn't have thought that after the first two games, but yeah, really impressive performance tonight. And we roll on to Brighton on Saturday, another tricky away game in the Premier League. Got to keep picking the points up. We've got a difficult run to the World Cup. Only 3 games left now until the World Cup. Brighton, Arsenal and Newcastle in the league. Plus we've got obviously Zagreb in the Champions League and a Man City in the Carabao Cup third round also sandwiched in between them. But yeah, a really positive night for the Blues. A great win against Zagreb. And we'll be back in the next few days with another episode. So until then, guys, take care and up the Chelsea.